Alright, give me a minute. Let's get set up. Let me make sure my audio is on point before I get started with this. It's one of the most important things I gotta make sure is audio is on point. And I know I should have did this beforehand. Okay, good. Don't mind my dog. He's a little stir crazy right now. Don't mind him. Alright, as you can see, playing DC Universe. Obviously, we know who this character is, who I basically created in the game. But we're gonna go ahead and I guess I'm gonna get into my spoiler review. And I know I wanted to also throw another topic on there, which I'll retitle the video a little later. I kind of wanted to get into something I did want to touch on when it came to other people, like just other movie reviews that I've noticed with this movie, with the Superman movie. But let me go ahead and get into my spoiler review first, and then we'll get into it. So, overall, what did I think of the movie? I thought it was good. Like, overall, I thought the movie was really good. I'm gonna kind of get into a play-by-play in just a minute. Ooh, goddamn! I need to turn this down a little bit. I forget how loud this game is sometimes.
There's more Quardian anti-Mogo tech out there.
All right, hold
Let's
on a minute.
wreck it.
Okay, anyway, so let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the spoiler review. Alright, yeah. Hold on, let's change. First off, before I get into the middle of this shit, I can't go in there as Clark Kent. Let's change the suit. There. Alright, let's go. But yeah, just was kind of get into a little bit of my review. Kind of get a play-by-play of what pretty much happened in the movie. So the beginning of the movie, you find out you find out Clark Kent's been Superman for about 3 years. It gives a rundown that, you know, his whole origin landed on Earth, was sent to Earth, you know, from Krypton. Planet got destroyed. You know, y'all know the whole spiel with Superman. I don't need to beat that with a dead horse. But anyway, so you find out he's been Superman for roughly 3 years in this universe. So, of course, you know, with him being Superman for 3 years, he's already been established as as a well-established superhero by then.
How am I a threat?
Still kind of somewhat in the beginning phase, but he's still established. You know, and the beginning of the movie, it starts out with Superman basically landing in the North Pole after getting his ass handed to him by who is the Hammer of Baravia, which you do find out later that's the Hunter of Baravia is actually Ultraman. But anyway. Ah, shit, hold on. Was I supposed to do some shit? Oh yeah, I was supposed to destroy that. So yeah, after he gets his ass whooped by the Hunter of Baravia, the Hammer of Baravia, you know, he calls for Krypto to basically take him to the Fortress of Solitude. Sure enough, you know, Krypto as usual, which he's a scene stealer, by the way. Krypto does steal a lot of scenes in this movie, but anyway, Krypto carries him to the fortress, basically drags him to the Fortress of Solitude, and you know, of course, Superman robots pretty much help Superman into the fortress, where they expose him to yellow sunlight after finding out he's got some broken ribs, punctured stomach, liver, and I think they said kidney too. I can't remember all the freaking injuries. But anyway, essentially he was fucked up. Superman got fucked up. So they have to expose him to a high dose of solar energy. You know, so in order to heal him back up. So he gets healed, and you see that the Hunter of Baravia is still on a rampage in Metropolis. And of course he has to get back to Metropolis knowing that he's at 85% power. You know, he's still trying to fucking get back out there and make sure the people of Metropolis are safe. Because that's just what the fuck Superman does. But all while he's flying back to Metropolis, you see the engineer followed him all the way back to the Fortress of Solitude. All the way to the North Pole, but she doesn't necessarily know where the fortress is at. But she's reporting to Lex that Superman basically landed somewhere in the North Pole. So of course, you know, Lex figures that much. So he's already basically concocting a plan to basically go to the fortress. But
You blow things
Anyway,
up good, friend.
while that's happening, while you know they have that little back and forth, Superman goes to fight the the Hammer of Baravia. Why do I keep saying fucking Hunter of Baravia? What the fuck, dude? I don't know why I keep saying that.
Ring's picking up one more Guardian
I'm
gadget.
fucking
Time
weird
to
like
shut
that.
it down.
Anyway, so he goes back to fight the Hammer of Baravia. See, I was about to do it again. I was about to fucking do it again. And after after he gets his ass whipped by the Hammer of Baravia, next day, you see him as Clark Kent going to the Daily Planet, and just acting normal like nothing really happened. Just essentially doing Clark Kent shit. And of course, you see there's a whole back and forth banter between Lois and Clark about Superman and if he's doing the right thing and shit. And why is this dude so hard to beat the fuck out of? Like, god damn. Anyway, so while that's going down, pretty much you find out that Lois and Clark have been dating for about 3 months, and she already knows Clark's identity.
That's
that
the last of them. Let's head
she knows
back
his
and talk to
dual
Margo.
identity, that he's Superman and Clark Kent at the same time. So she's privy to that. And it fast forward to another scene where you see them back at Lois Lane's apartment, and of course that whole infamous scene where Superman's all kind of getting pissed off with how Lois is interviewing him. And to be fair, I understand why Superman gets kind of mad at the interview, but she is actually asking him some hard-hitting questions. And look, if y'all know anything about Lois and Clark's dynamic, especially in the beginning, Lois is a reporter first before anything, and Superman, it's like Clark and Lois are two different people. Lois is a reporter first. Clark is basically a hero. That's what he does. There's no way around that. He's just overall just he's just someone just out there trying to do the right thing. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and fast forward from that whole thing they had, and Lois wasn't sure if the relationship's gonna work out, but that kind of just goes what the fuck, whatever with that scene. But anyway, let's fast forward to the next day. Lex Luthor basically had a whole situation set up where he sicked a whole fucking kaiju in the middle of Metropolis as a distraction. And he does it as a whole distraction to basically keep Superman busy while they pretty much go into the Fortress of Solitude, and they take Crypto. And while they essentially go in there to kidnap Crypto, Lex also sees the message of Jor-El and Lara, and he has the engineer decrypt the message, and she notices the message is damaged. And when she decrypts it,
okay, here's the situation.
Yeah, you come to find out that Jor-El basically sent Superman to essentially conquer Earth, and to basically conquer Earth and spread his DNA. If you know what the fuck what I mean by that, I don't even need to spell that out. But anyway, so you find out that's the whole reasoning why they sent Superman to Earth. And of course, while that's happening, Superman's fighting the fucking kaiju, and he gets a little help from the Justice Gang, which is Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific. And I'm gonna just say this, man. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner is fucking spot on, bro. There's just no denying that, man. I love Nathan Fillion, dude. If you've seen Nathan Fillion knows the Green Lantern Corps. Like, the dude practically is the Green Lantern Corps. I mean, as long as he's played Hal Jordan in animation, the dude knows the fucking lore. And
You're incredible.
Does an amazing job with fucking Guy Gardner. Like, they might as well just pull Guy Gardner from the fucking comic books. It was crazy. And I know some people had issue with the bowl cut. Personally, I didn't give a fuck. I thought the bowl cut was fucking badass. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. that bowl cut was fucking. Even though I roasted Nathan Fillion for the bowl cut online, that bowl cut was still fitting. It was still fitting. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. That bowl cut was still fitting for the character. But anyway, Superman is trying to basically take out the kaiju while trying to save civilians. And not just civilians, even including saving a squirrel. Just Superman saved a fucking squirrel.
Stars above.
And I know some people took issue with that. I didn't. Just off the sheer fact, again, I grew up on Superman comic books. Alright? I grew up reading Superman comic books. That is within character of what Superman would do. That is well within character. Hold on a minute. But yeah, that's well within the character of Superman. That is just the type of shit that he does. He would go as far as saving a fucking squirrel. Because he's fucking Superman. What more needs to be said? Yeah, that's just what Superman does at the end of the day. But anyway, after they got the kaiju, well, Mr. Terrific basically sends the T-spheres in the kaiju's stomach and essentially kills the kaiju by destroying its whole stomach lining. Which was just what the fuck. In my opinion, it was what the fuck, because the whole time Superman's trying to basically find a way to basically keep the kaiju alive to study it. And you know, of course, let's be honest, we all knew that wasn't gonna happen. Not with the Justice Gang. That wasn't gonna fucking happen. Oh, what the fuck am I doing? I'm trying to fight this dude head on, and I'm like, nigga, what the hell?
Watch
yeah,
it.
you admit it.
Saber is unstable.
But anyway. So yeah, the whole time while they're fighting the kaiju, Lex Luthor's plan is already coming into play, to where he's essentially exposing the whole decrypted message of Superman's dad sending the message that he said. And of course, you know, the whole time while, you know, the public's giving him shit, Superman's trying to figure out how the fuck did they get the message. He puts 2 and 2 together and figured out somehow Lex got into the fortress. So immediately he flies to the fortress, only to see that the Fortress of Solitude's not only been fucked up, but Krypto's missing. And that's when you see the infamous scene where it's like, where Superman's asking him, where's the dog? You know.
What's the falling rock?
And of course, you know, he can't find, you know, obviously he's not going to be able to find Krypto because of the fact that, you know, Lex has him in, you find out Lex has him in a pocket dimension. You know, has him in prison in a pocket dimension. So Superman concocts a plan to basically turn himself into the government so that way, you know, he can let Lex Luthor essentially kidnap him so he can go in there and save Krypto. Only for that plan to fall apart because Lex already has a contingency plan in play to where he has Metamorpho essentially create kryptonite and keep Superman on his back the whole time. Yeah, I said it. He kept Superman on his fucking back pretty much. Essentially keeping Superman at bay. I mean, if y'all know Lex Luthor, y'all already know Lex Luthor always has a contingency plan for some shit like that. But anywho, find out Metamorpho basically created the kryptonite, keeps Superman at bay, and basically holds Superman prisoner. But you find out the reason Metamorpho is doing it is because of the fact that Lex Luthor has his son hostage. So he's doing what Lex Luthor says in order to keep his son alive. And of course, while that's happening, Lois is trying to get the Justice Gang to help Superman. And of course, you know, Guy Gardner's like, man, I don't want this fucking smoke. So he doesn't want that type of smoke, doesn't want that type of attention, so he refuses to help, along with Hawkgirl. But Mr. Terrific, on the other hand, entertains the idea because he's kind of curious. And if you know anything about Mr. Terrific, he's always kind of curious about some shit. So he does it just to kind of entertain it. Just to kind of see what the fuck Lex is up to. And he wants to see if he actually did create a fucking pocket universe. Sure enough, when they get to where Superman's being tracked and how he's able to track Superman, and this is the shit that had me fucking dead, is that he basically secretly injected nanites into Superman. And then you find out this motherfucker does this shit to everybody. And I'm like, bro, you injecting motherfuckers with nanites without their consent? Bro, that's just cruel, bro. That's some cruel shit. Because how the fuck you gonna just inject people with nanites without their fucking consent, dude? What kind of shit is that? Yo, and the whole time when he says that shit, you got Guy Gardner and Hot Girl like looking at themselves like, hold up, when did this motherfucker do this shit to me? What the fuck? Yeah, it was hilarious, man. But anyway, Mr. Terrific entertains it, so he helps Lois track Superman, and they track him on all the way out to this secluded island that Lex Luthor has a bunch of freaking soldiers, along with a couple other freaking scientists that are monitoring the pocket dimension. And when Mr. Terrific gets there, man, let me say this, dude. That fucking fight scene with Mr. Terrific and the fucking T-Spears taking out Lex Luthor's henchmen was probably one of the most badass scenes in the fucking movie, dude. Even though there was a lot of badass moments in the movie, that was one of those badass scenes. Just the way Mr. Terrific laid the work on those fucking dudes was just badass, man. Like, I was not expecting that shit to happen. No, because what the fuck, bro? Yeah, I love that scene. That was a badass scene. And yeah, like, and one thing, like, again, is one thing, and I know this is kind of me getting a little off of the story, but I just have to say I like the fact how James Gunn takes lesser known characters that like aren't really known to a bunch of people, and he elevates them. That's what James Gunn does. Yo, I gotta give him credit for that. But anyway, so while they're in the middle of rescuing Superman, there's a whole part where Lex Luthor ends up kidnapping this dude that Superman usually sees every day. And he's from the said country that is being in... Well, hold on. I skipped a whole important plot point, too. I gotta go back a little bit because I did skip a plot point because I'm trying to fast track it because I'm trying to fast track the review best I can, but it's a lot of shit that happened in this movie, dude. It's a lot of shit to break down, and I know I'm missing shit, and I'm trying my best not to miss things in this review. So bear with me, because again, this is a spoiler review, so I'm doing my best to freaking not skip shit. And right now I'm doing a shit job. But anyway, so the whole thing with the Hammer of Baravia, he's from a country called Baravia, and well, not really. You actually find out it's actually Ultraman. But anyway, the whole thing is Superman stopped the whole freaking war from happening with Baravia taking over this other country. I forgot the name of the country. And essentially what's happening is you find out that Baravia is in cahoots with Lex Luthor. You know, essentially, you know, there's a whole plan that gets concocted, and I'm going to get to it a little bit later in this review. Because it's like, again, just me mentioning the whole Baravia conflict, it does tie everything together. So that's why I had to mention that whole Baravia part. And I know I'm doing a shit job of this review, just bear with me. Okay? But anyway, Mr. Terrific finds out that Lex Luthor did open a pocket universe. And of course he goes up to this whole thing, like this whole spiel about you're not supposed to open up a goddamn pocket universe. You know? Because of the amount of collateral damage that could happen when you open up pocket universes. And yeah, that you find out what happens later on in the movie. But anyway, so while they're exploring the pocket universe, before that happens, Lex Luthor finds this dude that is from the opposing country of Baravia that lives in Metropolis. And I forgot, he was trying to get information out of Superman out of the dude. He didn't want to give the information, and Lex Luthor shoots the dude in his head. Like, just outright shoots the dude in cold blood. And acts like it's nothing. And with Metamorpho witnessing that shit, Metamorpho is just like, what the fuck am I doing? You know? And at that point, Metamorpho has a change of heart and offers to help Superman get, to help Superman get out of there, break his son out, and get the fuck out of the pocket dimension. So what Metamorpho does, essentially, he turns the whole kryptonite thing off and creates a little bit of a miniature yellow sun, which gives Superman enough power to pretty much break out of the prison cell that he was in the pocket universe, save Metamorpho's son, and save Krypto. That's about as much power as it gives him, because his power starts to give out because he's trying to fight one of Lex Luthor's guards, and it doesn't really work out in his favor trying to fight the guards, because again, he's not at full power. That little bit of sunlight gave him just enough power to basically help him escape out of the prison and break out. So that's essentially, whoa, what the fuck? Sorry, that was just fucking weird what happened with my character. That was just weird. I don't know why the hell I got this shit. I meant to get the ring, but whatever. But anyway, ooh, what the hell is this? Okay. I'll allow it. Anyway. But anyway, back to the review. What the fuck I'm doing? So, back to the review. So, with the help of Mr. Terrific, finding them, Superman, Krypto, and Metamorpho's son escape out of the pocket dimension. And of course, Superman's not essentially at full power. In fact, he's still suffering the effects of the exposure of kryptonite, which severely fucked him up. So essentially, Superman has to basically get put on bed rest while Mr. Terrific stays there to monitor the pocket dimension and make sure it doesn't get worse. So he gives Lois his ship. They go to the Kent farm. And of course, Superman just lays to recover for a few days. And while that's happening, the pocket dimension gets worse, and it essentially creates a tear within the fabric of space-time. And all at the same time, Bravia decides they want to just make their fucking move and take over the other country. And while that's happening, Superman finally recovers. He has this whole moment where he starts to doubt himself. And he ends up talking to his dad, because he starts to doubt everything he believes in because of that whole message of his parents basically sending him to conquer Earth. And, essentially his parents reassure him that, your birth parents don't define who you are. Your actions define who you are. And this is why when I watch some of the Superman movies, I get mad when they say whenever they kill off Jonathan Kent. This is why I get pissed off when they kill off Jonathan Kent, because in moments like this, when Superman starts to doubt himself, he can always look to his adopted parents to basically put him back on the right track and reassure him that he's doing the right thing. And that scene, it kind of hit home a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. That scene kind of hit home. And I'll get into it a little bit later why it hit home. But anyway, so when he starts to doubt himself a little bit, John reassures him, and of course he starts seeing the whole conflict with Bravia starting to spike back up, and he gets ready to shoot back up. And while that's happening, you find out Jimmy was not only dating Lex's girlfriend at the time at one point, but she's secretly been giving him information, and he didn't realize it because she was sending him a lot of selfies. But what he didn't realize in the background is in the selfies, she was essentially sending Lex Luthor's entire fucking game plan, and it was right in front of them the whole time. So of course Lois decides to go back to the planet, and Superman decides to go fly to Baravia to go help them out. And when that's getting ready to happen, and he's getting ready to go help the country of Baravia, he gets in contact with Mr. Terrific, who tells him that, yo, bro, this black hole is getting worse, and we need to stop it. Otherwise, or Baravia, you need to get your ass to Metropolis ASAP. So Superman has to make a choice of whether he's gonna go to Baravia or if he's gonna go help out with the with the miniaturized black hole. You know, so he has to make that choice. So essentially, he decides to go help with the black hole, with the whole black hole incident, because it's starting to tear apart Metropolis. And of course, you see Superman helping people out, evacuate out of Metropolis. And after all the people evacuate out of Metropolis, the Engineer and Ultraman basically get the drop on Superman. And of course, a whole fight ensues with Ultraman and the Ultraman, the Engineer, and Superman. And that fight was fucking badass. I hate to say it. It was a badass fight. You know, essentially what happens is the Engineer tries to inject her nanites into Superman's body. So what Superman does is he decides, so you want to play that game? Guess what? I got something for your ass. So he decides to fly all the way up all the way past Earth's atmosphere, all the way into space, and then pretty much does a freaking, basically just goes dead weight and decides to crash land into Earth, which in the process that knocks out the Engineer, incapacitates the Engineer, and it kind of fucks up Ultraman to a point where his mask comes off, and you find out that Ultraman is actually a clone of Superman. I mean, let's be honest. We all knew that was coming. Because if you really paid attention, it made sense. Because how the fuck were they able to get into the Fortress of Solitude? You need Superman's DNA in order to get into the Fortress of Solitude. So, what better way to do it than to have a clone? Which makes total fucking sense. But, kind of predictable in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. So, of course, when he finds that out, him and Superman end up starting fighting again, and you finding out, like, throughout the movie, this is a point that I left out, is that Lex Luthor is literally giving Ultraman his commands as far as what, like, with a whole, like, command set on how to fight Superman. And it sounds like commands out of, like, Battleship or some shit like that, because he says, like, a whole number and letter sequence and shit. And this is basically a move list Lex has compiled to counteract every single fighting move Superman has, because he studied Superman for roughly 2 years. So he knows how Superman fights. So he pretty much used that to pretty much know what attacks to do to Superman, and he literally was just spamming a whole fucking attack move, a whole attack set like he was playing Injustice. That's how crazy that shit was, because the whole time I'm watching this shit, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Is this motherfucker playing Injustice Online or some shit? Like, bro. But anyway, he's spamming a whole attack, and you know, of course, he thinks he has the drop on Superman, but here's what he didn't factor in. Crypto. You know, and when I say, like, Crypto came, like, the whole time in the movie, we're thinking, like, yo, what's up with Crypto not listening to Superman? And you're thinking the whole time, you know, Crypto's gonna be like, he's gonna fuck the whole plan up, right? Wrong. Not only does Crypto come through for Superman, but it was probably one of the sickest fucking fights, one of the sickest scenes in the movie, because you find out there's drones flying around the whole time while Ultraman is fighting Superman. And literally, man, fucking just that one line that he says, I already knew that it was in that moment that Lex Luthor fucked up. And it was when Superman said, Crypto, get the toy. And you see Crypto's ear perk up. And the minute you see his ear perk up, he looks at the freaking drone. It immediately goes into attack mode on the fucking drones. And I mean, he like goes to fucking town on the damn drones. basically making it damn near impossible for Lex Luthor to feed attack patterns to Ultraman, essentially making it a little bit easier for Superman to incapacitate Ultraman temporarily until Lex Luthor ends up sending in his whole little army, which, by the way, Superman makes quick fucking work out of those dudes. Like, it literally looked like something out of Superman the Animated Series when he beat the shit out of those dudes. And yeah, I feel like when they did that whole scene where you see Superman spinning in a circle, doing the whole heat vision in a circle, I feel like the trailer undersold that fight. It undersold that scene. Because the way they did it in the movie, bruh. It was more badass watching it in the movie than it was in the trailer. Just mostly because of the whole end result of what happened was fucking hilarious. Because you just see his soldiers just drop like fucking flies. And oh, there's also a little cameo in there with Michael Rosenbaum. Yeah, he voices one of the henchmen. Forgot to throw that in there. And Michael Rosenbaum, for those that are like new to like Superman shit, Michael Rosenbaum originally played Lex Luthor in
we did it.
In Smallville. He's the original Lex Luthor from Smallville. But anyway, back to this review. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I just saw something I got. That was kind of interesting. But anyway, now that I handled that shit, so essentially after he takes out the henchman, then it gets back into the fight with Ultraman. At this point, Ultraman is pretty much fighting Superman by himself, and it's a pretty brutal fight. And while that's happening, you see a black hole is opening up. And what happens is essentially Superman and Krypto send Ultraman into the black hole, which eventually stops the whole conflict basically stops the whole thing. Oh, and then when it gets to the Baravian conflict, that's something I left out a little. I left that part out too. So with the Baravian conflict, they're basically hoping Superman shows up. Instead of Superman showing up, you have the Justice Gang. They show up along with Metamorpho. And not only do they beat the shit out of the Baravian army, but Hawkgirl ends up killing the Prime Minister of Baravia. And it was low-key kind of funny how she killed him. She literally just dropped the motherfucker, and you see his body falling, and then it just pans off to another whole fucking scene. So after, you know, Superman did the whole thing where he fought, give me a minute. After he fought Ultraman, they fly to Luthor Corps along with Mr. Terrific, and they essentially get in there, and the black hole is getting worse, and one of Lex Luthor's dudes is trying to offers to help Mr. Terrific. Man, I'm sorry, I love this fucking line in the movie, man. He goes in there and he asks Mr. Terrific if he can help. Mr. Terrific's like, I don't need your help. I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific. Bro, that line had me fucking dead, bro. I was fucking dead when he said that shit. And I mean, he is goddamn Mr. Terrific. I mean, Mr. Terrific is that fucking dude. But anyway, I'm gonna get into that in a minute. I'm gonna get into that in just a second. But anyway,
look, his shield is down. Now's our chance.
Anyway, but back to what I was saying. So he ends up, you know, Lex Luthor gets into this whole spiel with why he hates Superman, and then Superman gets into this whole spiel too. Hold on, let me send Krypto out here. Where he gets into his whole spiel, where basically it's a really good speech Superman gives, where he basically kind of just says, "Look, bro, I'm more human. I'm just as human as you, bro. Like, I have, you know, every day I wake up, I doubt myself. I don't know if I'm gonna do everything right. You know, I make mistakes, you know, but I know that at the end of the day, you know, I get scared too, but you know what? I gotta put one foot in front of the other every single fucking day and drive on. I'm not always gonna get everything right. I'm not perfect." Essentially, he said something along those lines. And, you know, and it was a really good speech. And it was like in that moment, like honestly in that moment I was just like, okay, this dude was born to play Superman. He was born to play Superman. So essentially after that whole thing happens, you know, it gets exposed that Lex Luthor was the one behind the whole Baravian War, because he's the one that basically was behind all of it. You know, and they expose that, and yeah, essentially what happens is that Lex Luthor gets ready to make this whole fucking speech talking about how he's gonna kill, how he's basically gonna try to wipe Superman out of existence. And before he can even finish the goddamn speech, Krypto fucking comes in there and just starts like beating the shit out of fucking Lex Luthor. I'm just like, yo, man, get your dog. It was funny as shit, dude. Like he just ragdolled the fuck out of Lex Luthor, man. It was fucking hilarious, man. Fucking hilarious, man. And of course, after that, Lex Luthor gets arrested. Superman and Lois have their little moment, you know, which I mean, that was kind of a given. They were gonna have their little fucking moment. That's a given. Oh my god, these dudes are pissing me the fuck off. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my puppy. I got my Bubba right here. My little dog. Hold on. Hey, Ori. Yeah, I got my little doggy right here. He's watching me play this damn game right now. Yo, he's always over here keeping me company. But, anywho. So, after Lex Luthor gets arrested, Lois has their moment. Superman's at the Fortress of Solitude, and you see that something crashed into the Fortress of Solitude. You see it's Supergirl. She's drunk as shit, and you find out that Krypto is actually Supergirl's dog, which explains why he doesn't really listen to Superman, because it's not his dog. You know, it's Supergirl's dog, which I mean, it is what it is. Whatever. You know, that is what it is. That's one of those things I'm kind of whatever. And then by the end of the movie, you know, you see there's a whole scene where, when he's trying to listen to the message from his parents, which is usually what he does when he's in the Fortress of Solitude, and instead of it being the message from Jor-El and Lara, it's actually a home video of Superman from when he was a kid growing up with Jonathan and Martha Kent. Because at the end of the day, those are essentially his parents. You know, regardless of how you look at it, those are essentially his parents. You know? And it's not me downplaying Jor-El like his Kryptonian parents. Not me trying to bash his Kryptonian parents, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's who raised them.
Looks like I owe John $5.
So at the end of the day, there's a whole rolling credits, and then you have this little part in the rolling credits where you see Superman and Krypto looking at Earth from the moon, and then Krypto turns around and hugs Superman, and that's pretty much the end of the movie.
What are you up to now?
So what did I think of the movie? I thought it was awesome, dude. I thought it was a really good movie. It was a good movie where, like, you shouldn't be afraid to take the kids to go watch it. I mean, it's a good movie. It's good for it. It's a good movie, all around good movie for everyone, all ages. Very good movie. Was it the best Superman movie? No. Not the best Superman movie. But was it a good Superman movie? Yes.
Mogo,
definitely.
Where are they?
You know, it's not the best Superman movie, but it's up there. I say
we'll find them.
It's definitely
You'll find their
top,
corpses,
maybe top 5, top 3. But I play maybe top 5.
As I said,
You know, I had some gripes with it. I thought it was I do think not only was it weird to do the whole thing with making his parents making his Kryptonian parents conquerors. I did kind of take issue with that.
My sister.
You know, that's one of the things I can get the fuck over.
I think we need to talk.
I can get over that shit.
Outside, okay?
You know, as someone that's, you know, that reads comics, I can get over some shit like that. That just is what it is. It's whatever. Not even mad about it. Trying to think what other shit, what other things happened in the movie. Hang on.
He's up to something big. Sounds like you and Lucia have things to do elsewhere. Don't worry, we'll handle him on. There's a nice science cell waiting for him back on Oa.
Okay, I'm gonna handle this shit in a minute. Yeah, I need to get back to Mogo. I know my shit's full. I'll handle that in a minute. But anyway, some of the gripes I did have was just that plot point.
I found someone who can help us find my sister.
Do I
Another
think there was a little bit too many
Maybe it's like a
characters?
man station, too.
Yeah.
We may not have a lot of time.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I do feel like, yes, there was a lot going on in the movie. There was a lot going on. I will be honest about that. That's one thing that I can say is a little bit of a gripe. But for the most part, kind of made it work. Because again, I didn't hate the movie. I do feel like there was a lot of,
Hi, I'm Carol.
there was a lot of humor in the movie in certain situations where it should have been kind of serious, but you know, it's James Gunn style. You know, he does inject humor in some of the most random mundane moments in the movie, and it works. For the most part, it works. So I can't really complain and say, oh, this was freaking trash and whatnot. No, I'm not gonna do that. At that point, I'm being disingenuous if I turn around and say that bullshit. I'd be lying to y'all if I said that. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell that lie. Ah, boy, where is the fucking vendor? Like, motherfucker, bro. Anyway, I need to find the vendor. You know what? Let me get the hell up out of here, and then I'll finish the rest of my little review. Let me get up out of here. Let's get back. Oh, I'm gonna get to the Watchtower. I haven't been to the Watchtower in a long time. But yeah, there was that. I'm trying to think. What's another thing I didn't really like about the movie? Because again, this movie's not perfect. Why won't even, again, like I'm just saying, like I'm telling y'all, the movie's not perfect. What other gripes did I have with the movie?
Listen, this
Besides
stuff
that,
is great, but anytime you need a real hero, I've got your back.
I feel like there was some parts where, like, I do feel like there were some parts in the movie that did slow the movie down a little bit. I can't really give an example off the top of my head right now because I gotta go back and watch the movie again. I really gotta go back and watch it. I do now. Let me get into. Well, I feel like the whole joke with Crypto being a bad dog, I can agree when some people say like it did get overused. I can actually agree with that. That joke did get overused. You know, the whole bad dog Crypto. Yeah, that did get overused at times. I won't even sit up there and lie about that. That did get overused at times. Just being honest, it did get overused. Trying to think, was there anything else that I'm fucking missing out of this review as far as the bad? Don't think I really missed anything, so let's get into the good. Let's get into the good stuff. David Cornsweet, phenomenal as Superman. Phenomenal Superman. I think the dude was freaking badass as Superman. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, dude. I cannot stress like how amazing of a Lois Lane she was. She was spot the fuck on. Like, no bullshit. She was a spot on Lois Lane. I literally could not find anything wrong with her, anything bad about her performance. She was just on point as Lois Lane. Like, very spot on as Lois Lane. Jimmy, dude, I love Jimmy. Jimmy was for me. I do like the fact that they did abandon the whole Jimmy Olsen being kind of a dork.
Listen,
And they kind of made him somewhat of like
my mate.
a little
My
bit of a
mates
Riz
stand
master
up
in the
for
movie. I
one
thought it was
single
hilarious, but it
voice.
worked. For the most part, it fucking worked. So I'm not even gonna complain about that because they made the whole thing with Jimmy having a lot of Riz work. They made the shit work. Can't be mad about it. Okay, hold on a minute. Let's see if I can knock out one of these little fucking missions. Let's see. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to finish this on time because this event's about to end this week. It's about to end tomorrow. Fuck. Because I really wanted that fucking jacket. It's okay. Yeah, I fucked up by not getting it. That was my fuck up. And it would have been that jacket right there, the Superman, the jacket that Superman's son has. That's the one I would have wanted, but it's okay. I missed out on it, that's on me. But like I said, I mean, there was that. Oh, one gripe I did have, I wish they would have done more with Hawkgirl, in my opinion. I feel like they could have done more with Hawkgirl, but they really kind of didn't. I feel like at times Hawkgirl was a little bit of a wasted character. But again, that's just my opinion. Like, I feel like there's so much more they could have done with her, but they really didn't. And that's alright, though. Because hopefully they make up for it later on with later movies. Metamorpho, on point. Phenomenal. Love Metamorpho in the movie. That was actually spot on casting. And how they made Metamorpho work was completely 100% accurate. Actually, that's another thing I did like about the movies was a lot, like, the comic book accuracy. Like, the movie felt like I might as well have been watching, like, a live comic book. Like, one of those, was it like a stop motion comic book? Yeah, I might as well have been watching one of those. Because the whole plot and everything just literally felt like it was something out of a comic book. It was crazy. Just literally something out of a comic book. It felt like it was a straight up comic book movie. Alright, now I'm gonna be teaming up with villains and shit. Where are these guys at? I gotta go help them out. But yeah, overall it was just, like I said. Oh shit, where are these guys at? That a lot of the casting is spot on. I can't even be mad about a lot of the casting, honestly, because the casting for the most part was 100% on point. Not even mad about the casting at all. Overall, it was just overall a good movie, dude. I got no gripe. Like, the only reason, again, if I had to rate them, well, let's see. Hold on, I'm trying to think of what else. Mr. Terrific, I don't even need to freaking say how badass how they did Mr. Terrific. Like, he damn near was a scene stealer. He damn near pretty much stole the fucking movie practically. And you know what? And I hope they give Mr. Terrific a fucking HBO Max series because, bro, he was that badass of a character, dude. And again, it's like I said earlier, like, it really shows that when it comes to a lot of these characters, James Gunn does take a lot of pride with the characters. He takes a lot of risk with these characters. You know? That is one thing that he does do. He takes risks. And you can't be mad at the dude for doing that. Because he takes a risk with using a lot of lesser known characters, but for the most part, again, he knows how to write these characters, and it goes to show at the end of the day, James Gunn is a comic book fan through and through, because he knows the characters and understands the characters. And I feel like for the most part, he did nail Superman. Now, I do want to address something, like, if we're gonna do the whole comparison to Man of Steel and this movie, here's my thing. I wish people would stop trying to compare Man of Steel to this movie. Because for one, it's a completely different tone. That's number one. Number two, it's two completely different Supermans, two different universes. At the end of the day, Superman is Superman, regardless of how he's being characterized.
It seems these
his test subjects up in the first failed batch.
You know, I just think a lot of people are just weird with the whole fandom. People are just very weird with, you know, comic book fandom. And keep in mind, this is coming from somebody that has been reading comic books since they were a kid. Like, seriously, I've been reading comic books ever since I was like, I want to say like 7, 8 years old. I've been reading comic books. So that's why a lot of times when I see how some of these people like think of how some of these characters should be portrayed, I kind of give them the side eye. Like, a lot of people think, oh, this is Henry Cavill Superman is like, this is how Superman should be. And as much as I do like Henry Cavill Superman, I do feel like that's not necessarily how Superman is necessarily should be portrayed in media, but that's just my opinion. You know, I always look at it like this: at the end of the day, Superman doesn't necessarily create collateral damage, he tries to mitigate collateral damage. You know, and with people saying, oh, like, you know, this version of Superman was weaker, yes, that is true. There, in most aspects, there was reason he was a little bit weaker. However, the plot dictated it. There was a lot of reasons why they had to make him weaker. Because let's be honest, if you turn around and made Superman just OP as fuck to the point where, you know, he's unbeatable, does that make for an entertaining movie, or does it make for a boring movie? Like, come the fuck, let's be real about it, man. I just feel like there's two sides of comic book fandom where, at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose a lot of the times. You know, kind of like with, and I'll use the example of like the MCU. Like, it's all, the MCU is divided into two different subcategories of the fandom. You have the ones that are like heavily into the comic books and know the comic book lore, and then you got the ones that merely adopted the whole comic book scene and they think they're experts on it based off the movie, when it's like, no, the movies don't even come close, don't even scratch the surface of what a lot of these characters can do. And I think that's where some of the disconnect is, you know? And I know I'm bringing the MCU into this shit, but it is relevant to what I'm trying to say too. Like, I do feel like, and this is just an honest opinion, I do feel like the comic book space should kind of be gatekept a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I know I'm gonna get shit for it, I don't care, but I do feel like the comic book space to a degree should be gatekept, just due to the fact that you got a lot of people that will try to make bad faith arguments and try to politicize the characters. And for me, and that's something that's a pet peeve of mine when it comes to, like, you know, the comic book space, is when you have people that don't even know the actual backstory behind said characters, and they want to like try to use these characters to make some type of political point. And me personally, I'm kind of like, bro, who gives a fuck about your fucking politics? At the end of the day, we just like these characters because we just like, for the sake of liking the characters. Like, take politics out of this shit. I don't know why people want to always insert their personal politics into comic books. Like, learn to enjoy a fucking movie without having to insert politics, man. That's something I always say. Like, this is why, like, when it comes to the entertainment sphere, like the entertainment space, this is why a lot of people just can't really enjoy the entertainment space anymore, bro. Because everybody wants to try to insert some type of political point. It's really just, they want to insert some type of political point, or it's like, you can't necessarily have an opinion or like a certain character without someone labeling you like a fucking conservative or a fucking liberal or some shit. And I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. Can people just like characters just to like them? Like, bring it, boy. I was listening to a little bit of Ben Shapiro's review on the movie. I had to shut the fucking review. pretty much stopped the video within within less than 3 to 5 minutes, because it just started telling me that this dude does not know the character of Superman. Like, people are getting so pressed about this whole thing about with James Gunn saying Superman is an immigrant, which by textbook definition is a fucking fact. That is a fact. That Superman is a fucking immigrant. I don't know why this even is an argument. It's an actual fact. I don't understand why people argue this shit. But no, I know why. I mean, I know why. I'm just being facetious when I say I don't know why, because I know why. And it's fucking stupid. Yes, Superman is a fucking immigrant at the end of the day. It just is what the fuck it is. Like, I don't see why a bunch of people want to get their panties in a bunch because, oh, someone said Superman's an immigrant. Ooh, you're bad because you're saying you like an immigrant. Shut the fuck up. Who cares, man? I mean, it's an unequivocal fact. Superman is an immigrant by textbook definition. You can try to say, oh, you can spin it as though he's a refugee, but you know what? There are refugees that are also immigrants too. You know, refugee is also a subcategory for some immigrants as well. So regardless of how you spin it, he's an immigrant because last I checked, Superman was not born in the States.
Superman.
He was not born in the States, so therefore he is an immigrant. I hate to say it. I don't see why people get pressed over this shit. In fact, I think it's fucking dumb that people get pressed over this crap. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, man. And then we wonder why the comic book space is fucked up. Yeah. Like, it's a damn shame the comic book space is in the position of where it's at now. You know what I mean? It fucking sucks. It sucks and it's a goddamn shame. Yeah, man, I'm trying to remember how to do this mission.
Who's your supervisor?
Anyway, sorry, I had to get focused back on the shit, but that's just kind of my whole spiel with it, dude. Like, I just hate when I see a bunch of people want to throw politics into a comic book review when there's no need for it. And I like how some people were trying to spin it as if, oh, James Gunn was making a comparison of the whole Moravian conflict to the whole shit with the whole Israel and Hamas conflict, and it's like, no, it's just a coincidence that happened just due to the sheer fact that, you know, what's happening now, it's coincidentally happening right now because of just whatever the fuck happened. You know, if you read enough comic books, you know shit like this happens a lot in comic books where where Superman is actually having to deal with some type of fucking fucked off conflict. It always happens. It is what it is. Where Superman's having to stop some type of fucking war. Let's not act like this shit doesn't happen, because it does. It happens a handful of times in comic books. What are we talking about?
Oh, thank you.
But again, a lot of times, this is why when you have some comic book reviewers try to review comic book movies, they're usually punching fucking air because they don't understand what it is they're watching or what they're reviewing. But, no, let me shut up.
I should know better than to take.
Yeah, let me shut up for a minute because at this point, I'm talking just to talk right now.
Quit fighting. You're not getting out of here alive.
If I had to rate the Superman movie, I would rate it... I'd rate it an 8 out of 10. That's just if I'm my honest opinion. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Oh, nigga, what the fuck? I know you did not just die right now. Bitch, get your ass up. Anyway.
I am impressed with you. Unfortunately, Lex's Doomsday DNA doesn't quite live up to the original. You can test that for yourself. We need you to disconnect Doomsday from his extraction field and then secure him for transport. LexCorp has him in a nearby farm, the Kent Farm. Wayne.
Alright, let's fly to my farm, bitches. With the heat vision.
Extraction field to end this
I'm trying to beat the shit out of Doomsday right now.
The residents should return to normal before the jail.
Alright, give me a minute. Ooh, hit him with my freaking shield. Alright, should I send Crypto in? Ah, fuck it, let's do it. I beat the shit out of this guy. Alright, let's do it.
Us, Doomsday. Time to get back into your entropy cage.
Oh wow, they redesigned Bizarro. Nice. I didn't notice that. I did not notice they redesigned Bizarro. Oh, god damn it. What the fuck? Hell nah, dude. Hell nah. Alright. Let's flee. Let me see if it'll let me back into the fight. We almost got his ass. Okay, not bad, not bad.
Impressed. Doomsday is powerful enough to kill Superman. Even trained by Lex's experiments, he is a deadly killing machine. As it seems you are. The Society will ensure Doomsday is transported back to LexCorp via Entropy Prison. I will alert you again soon. Talia out. Okay,
I didn't do as much damage as the other guy. So I got second place as far as damage. But to be fair, it's probably because I jumped in at random. It's alright though. I didn't do that bad. Alright, I'm gonna go back to the Fortress of Solitude. Go back to my house. Okay, that was interesting. Good run, good run. Alright. 46. Alright. I'm probably gonna go ahead and hop off because I gotta get ready for work in the morning. So yeah, I just had to see what time it was, but that's pretty much my review. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm probably gonna do another live this weekend. Probably play some Diablo 4 to be exact. Like I said, man, you guys let me know what you guys think. You know, make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that good shit. And I will see you on the next one. Give me a second. So until the next time, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.